Appreciate the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Let me now introduce Dr. Bruce Vanderhoff, the Director of the Ohio Department of Health. He's going to talk about exactly where we are in regard to the air, the water, and everything from the public health point of view. And Dr. Vanderhoff, one of the things I would ask you to address is the odor. I know people are still smelling an odor, and I wonder if you can, comment about that and what the significance of that is.
Well, thank you, Governor. Let's begin by just talking about the chemicals. And the fact is that for the most part, most of the chemicals that we're worried about and that we're talking about fall into a category known as volatile organic chemicals. And you heard that mentioned before, or compounds. Now, volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, it's important for us to recognize, are actually a part of our everyday life. So if you go this afternoon on your way home to pump gas in your car, you're being exposed to volatile organic compounds. You are. If you are burning wood or natural gas in your home, you're being exposed. And certainly, if you are smoking or you live with someone who smokes, you're being exposed to actually fairly substantial levels of volatile organic compounds. Now, the good news is that most people can be around these volatile organic compounds at low levels without really feeling health effects. However, at higher levels, especially over a longer period of time, then we can have longer-term health effects. And that's why there is the concern around these compounds. So the goal from a health point of view in a situation like this is really to make every effort we can to reduce the risk that we're going to take those volatile organic compounds into our bodies. And there are really two paths for that to happen. One is what we breathe, and the other is what we consume. So the effort, as you heard it described, really began at the start with trying to make sure that we had a safe environment as it related to the air that people were breathing. For us as human beings, we've got to breathe. We can't avoid the air. The air is there, we need it, and so it has to be clean, it has to be safe for us. And the good news is, and you heard the governor describe this, by the time we were at the decision point for potentially bringing the people who had evacuated back into the impacted area, we had on hand air testing that told us that the air really looked pretty much like it did before this event ever happened. So that gave us really great confidence when it came to that aspect. But then there's the second aspect. Even after bringing people back, we made it clear that, hey, the next piece of this is your water source. We want to test that. Now, the good news is the majority of people who live in the East Palestine community are in fact on municipal water, and those municipal sources are deep wells that they were able to intentionally reserve using the most distant ones only for feeding the water supply. But nevertheless, there are quite a number of people who are on private water systems, mostly private wells. We have strongly encouraged all of those people on private wells to get their wells tested, and that will be done at no cost to them. This is something that is part of the remediation, and it's very important for the reasons I just described. Now, if you are one of the people who live in the impacted area and have a private water source, you're not on municipal water, I'd encourage you to call a number. I'll read the number out. You've heard it before. It's 330-849-3919, and indicate, I believe I'm in the affected area and I'd like to have my water source checked. Now, we're strongly recommending those who have not yet had their water source checked to use bottled water, and bottled water is being made available again. Same phone number that you can call if you need access to that. This is going to be particularly important if you are pregnant, if you are breastfeeding, or if you're preparing formula for an infant. So we would encourage you to avail yourself of that water. The bottom line is that from the very start of this, we have taken every step possible to assure that people's safety was first and foremost. And that with the compounds that we're talking about, in consultation with experts at the national level, we have first made sure that we were providing a clean atmosphere, clean air, and now we are actively working to assure that people, for the long run, have clean water. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're happy to take any questions for anyone who's yeah.
Hi, Joe Ingalls with Ohio Public Radio and Television. My question is, you said that the water is safe, at least the community water that's been tested, but should people maybe think of using water filters like Brita filters, that kind of thing? Is that a good thing to do right now while things are unknown? And should people just go ahead and do bottled water in the meantime?
At this stage in the game, we are recommending that people in the community consider using bottled water. We are awaiting results of testing of the municipal water sources that are going to be fairly detailed and will allow us to have a very complete look at the potential compounds that could be involved. And we expect that very soon. You know, from my point of view, using bottled water for a short period of time is pretty easy to do. And once we have data and information, especially if you have a private water source, look, there are things that we will be able to do. It may be drilling a new well, a deep well instead of a shallow well. It may be using some of the remediation tools that were described for municipal sources that include forms of aeration and charcoal filtering, et cetera. So for right now, I think bottled water is the right answer.
Hi, this is Ashley Bornanson with WBNS. I also have a question for you, Doctor. In terms of that radius of those who should be drinking bottled water, how far does that radius go? Could this impact Central Ohioans? And what could that impact be on the current health of those who might have been intaking this water?
Thank you. So we're very confident about, and there are maps in the that are available in the community of what we believe to be the impacted zone for these wells. And if people call that hotline, they'll be able to access that. For people more distant, I'm going to turn to some of my colleagues from the Ohio EPA to describe again that process of testing. If you're in Central Ohio, this is really not relevant to your water source. If you're actually in most of the rest of Ohio, we're really talking about those who have municipal water sources coming off of the Ohio River. And I'm absolutely confident that Orsenco and the local communities, along with Ohio EPA and US EPA, are using every appropriate caution to assure that there's no public health impact.
A controlled release of the vinyl chloride at approximately 3:30 p.m. The controlled release of the toxic chemicals also has the potential to be deadly if inhaled. Those in the red area are facing grave danger of death if they are still in that area. Those living in the orange area are at risk of severe injury, including skin burns and serious lung damage. To state the obvious, all of you need to leave as well, and I need to leave as well too. So.